Hello and welcome to the RCB podcast powered by Kotak Mahindra Bank.
I had to earn it. I had to earn the respect. It is never given that you'll gain respect because I understand that do not really have big international credentials as a player. If a player with big international credentials come, the players will tend to have that respect because what he's done with their careers when they were playing. So they get automatic respect. But whether that respect can be sustained in the long run, it can be sustained only when the player feels that whatever you have done or whatever you are trying to contribute to their growth, if it is helping them, only then that respect comes. So I feel that players are not interested in what the coaches have done in the past. Players are more interested in what they want to do in the future, and that is where if somebody they feel that he can make a difference to their game, I tend to think that those relationships last longer.
ये है मेरा ड्राइवर्स लाइसेंस, माई मेट्रो कार्ड और ये है मेरा फैन कार्ड।
Hello and welcome to the RCB podcast. My name is Danish and with me today, Mr. Sanjay Bangar. I'm going to begin by asking you what also happens to be the theme of this podcast, which is how has the IPL changed your life?
It has indeed in a massive way because both as a player and as a coach, I remember, when the first mega auction came and this entire concept of IPL came, we narrowly missed out because the rule at that point from BCCI was that if you've represented the country after 2005, you would be part of the auctioned list. And because I had played my last match in 2004, I narrowly missed out. But I think it was Lakshman and Karthik. With the help of Lakshman and Karthik, I got to get into the Deccan Chargers team, and it was good to play a season of IPL. I think it was interesting and totally different from what we've been used to.
Sanjay sir, do you remember the first time you played cricket? What was it like? Whom did you play cricket with? Where was this?
Just like any other Indian youngster or Indian child coming up in household with tennis balls, and my father used to throw balls at me, and that's how I started to play. And we were living in a colony called Kotla Colony in Aurangabad, and that's where we started to get attracted towards this sport. And it was not just cricket, but we used to play badminton, play football a bit, and also cricket. But because I went to a school, St. Francis de Sales School, which is, I was very fortunate that that school possessed numerous grounds. It was a massive infrastructure, around 50 acres of space, and it had all sports being played. So I also ended up playing basketball at times. So I enjoyed my school days.
So you started playing in the domestic setup through the 90s. You sort of played through that in the 90s. Then you worked there for about 10 years before you made it to the Indian team. And boom, we're living at a time right now where somebody has one great year in the IPL and they're a part of the Indian team. Do you sometimes look at the youngsters and think, man, I wish I just had this opportunity?
Obviously, but you can't roll back time, and change is the only constant, and you have to move with the times. So we generally, whatever our time was, we tried to make the best out of those opportunities which were available to us. Maybe because we had to spend longer amounts of time trying to understand the game, trying to understand the intricacies involved. Maybe that made us more mature and more experienced players, and probably ended up not making too many mistakes when we reached the international circuit. But yes, I feel from a batsman's perspective, it is very important that you have to undergo that grind. Maybe it can be in domestic cricket, it can be in club cricket, but it's important for batsmen to go through that grind, because batsmanship is unlike a bowler. Because if a bowler, and we've seen some fantastic bowlers coming up through IPL, that they can straight away go and make an impact because their bodies are young, they have got this raw pace, and the sooner they get into a system wherein they get to understand how to look after their bodies, what to train, it works to their advantage. But from a batsman perspective, you still require to go through that grind, which makes you a better player.
So it's funny, right? You've actually played this tournament as a player, and then now you're a coach. We'll get to the coaching in a bit, but what was it like to be a player in the first IPL, and how different is it now when you look at the players?
Oh, it was, I was for a team, Deccan Chargers, and at that point, because the euphoria was tremendous, and the owners went out of the way to make sure that the atmosphere was terrific and all the needs of the players were being looked after. I mean, the entire euphoria, the fun part, the entertainment part, and it was basically a marriage of cricket and entertainment. So just to be able to, because we played a majority of our cricket in an era which was sort of a amateurish outlook. It wasn't really a professional outlook towards the game. But after that, we realized that a couple of seasons later, I mean, I only played first season, but 2 or 3 seasons later, I tried to figure it out that, this is going to move in a professional direction. A lot of players are going to get a lot of opportunities which were earlier denied, because if you look at the history of Indian cricket, we have literally 90 years, closer to 90 years in international cricket, and till now only 300 players have been able to play test cricket for India. So because of IPL, I feel that the volume of cricketers and they taking it up as a profession is a big boost to all players who want to play this sport and who love this sport.
Do you remember having conversations with your peers and colleagues then saying, man, there's this thing called IPL, we're all suddenly turning into commodities, anybody can pick us, we could play for any other team? Do you remember having such conversations? Any interesting anecdote that you'd like to share with us?
No, I vividly remember the first auction, and we were glued to the televisions, and suddenly these figures started to hit through the roof. That somebody is going for 4 crores, 6 crores, 8 crores, and that sort of a money was unheard of, especially in. Yeah, you were saying something.
Yeah, I had a question. How much would you otherwise make in an entire year versus suddenly this tournament coming in?
Are you asking about domestic cricketers, or are you asking of international cricketers?
Let's take a base average out of it. So I would say domestic, somebody who played domestic, how much money would that person make otherwise? And suddenly with this IPL thing, you're making like 5 and 6 crores. So how much did that person make?
And I mean, if a first-class cricketer plays a season of domestic cricket, and I mean, he ends up playing all formats, he would probably walk away with 20 lakhs at the end of season, which means that literally 8 months of work, if you include the off season also into it, because cricketing season in India is 6 months long. So for 8 months work or pursuing a passion, the financial income was about 20 lakhs.
Right, and then this IPL happened. So you're telling me about the story that you vividly remember of the auction. So you can tell us now, you can continue now. What happened?
Here I remember that dialogue from Three Idiots, that Ranchod Das Chachad, and he's saying that मतलब उसका नाम ढूंढ रहा था, वो शर्मिन जोशी जो कैरेक्टर प्ले कर रहा था उसमें. So the thing is that basically when you find that your peers are ending up getting those skyrocketing salaries, which obviously you have not got, and then suddenly ऐसे होता है ना कि यार ठीक है अपने पास तो नहीं मगर बाजू वाले को कितना मिल रहा है. So उस चीज़ों के ऊपर काफ़ी बातें होती थी, but I think eventually one deserves what one gets. And I mean, cricketers today are, and cricket as a fraternity, or at least cricket in India, because it's not only the current cricketers who have benefited from it. Don't forget the BCCI has also done a lot of things for past cricketers who are deprived of these financial rewards because of the popularity of the sport, and the IPL being so successful is that a lot of former players have got one-time benefits because in earlier times, if you had to have a benefit at the end of a season, you literally have to go to current players and request them that you please come and play a benefit match for us. So whatever the money that is collected, that can be sort of a fund for the retiring player. But BCCI has given one-time benefit to all the former cricketers, grade-wise or phase-wise, as to the number of matches that they played till 2004. And along with that, I think the entire spectrum of retired players, they also get a monthly gratis, and that is for a lifetime. So all these rewards would not have been possible if the popularity of IPL had not kicked off.
So you played at a time when it wasn't really this, how do I put it, there was no sort of mad hysteria around the sport like we see it now, right? There was love, there was definitely love. I don't think any of us can take that away, but it was a very different time as compared to this. So when you suddenly went from that setup to this glitz and glamour and, you know, people having after parties, at some point did you ever stop and think, man, what happened? Like, what's going on here? Did you ever feel that way?
Never felt that way, but I felt that players who are going to be part of this journey, they'll have to figure out how to understand how to balance the advantages and disadvantages of the atmosphere or the euphoria that they find themselves in. And that is where, you know, there is opportunity. If you have 4 or 5 good seasons, you're probably financially independent. And along with that, it was very critical for players to have some sort of a support system, because for a boy who hasn't really seen the glamorous life of an IPL cricketer and he suddenly finds himself in that sort of a scenario, he could very well get carried away. And that is where the support system of a player comes in massively, because how he still values the sport which has actually got him there. If he has the talent, he has reached there, but can that talent be tempered? Can that talent withstand adversities? Can that talent stay on course? Because it is very likely that by all these attractions which are available in this setup, a player might just lose focus.
Describe your first experience as a coach in the IPL and what did you learn from it?
Prior to my stint with Kings 11, I also had a small stint with Kochi Tuskers, and that was again as a batting coach, and that is a time wherein I got a chance to work with Mahila Jayawardene. I got a chance to work with Ravindra Jadeja when he was just entering the scene. There was Kedar Jadhav, there was a couple of other good players in that team, but unfortunately the team couldn't really play the next season because of certain obviously roadblocks, but just being part of a setup wherein you try and guide players of international caliber who are international performers, but also along with them to find a method to also connect at the same time with young domestic players. And that is a challenge wherein how you can in a very uniform setup wherein you are actually dealing with superstar, you are dealing with the mid-level performers, and you are dealing with also with youngsters who are just beginning their journey in this sport. So that is the biggest experience for me, wherein how I can change my tone, how I can connect with different players at different levels of their careers, and some could very well be towards the end of their careers, and how I can get them motivated to perform for the team. I think those are the challenges that I've faced and that I relish totally.
Sanjay sir, what does a batting coach really do? And I ask this in all humility because, you know, we read names like Virat Kohli, AB de Villiers, Glenn Maxwell that are within the RCB setup. And I'm sure even as fans, they wonder, okay, so in 2 months, how much of a difference do you really make? Is it absolutely changing the technique, or is it getting a handover from the past and then taking it forward to these 2 months? How does it really work? What do you do?
I throw a few balls at them, that's it.
I mean, I know you're being very humble about this, but I'm sure there's more than that. What do you really do? What is your job?
I think it's behind the scenes jobs because most of the times the players are on their own on the field of cricket, but our job basically is get them prepared in the best possible manner that we can, taking into account the infrastructure that is available to us. So preparation is a big part of the contribution of all the support staff, and that's where, from a batting point of view, what I generally do is that I'll obviously in our preparatory phase we will create a lot of situations, we'll create a lot of scenarios which are very close to match scenarios. So that happens generally when you have a couple of weeks time before the tournament starts, but when the tournament is about to begin, say a week from the time all the players assemble, generally keep a very close tab on how their fundamentals are, even though not actually bringing it to the notice of a player, but it is always better to have that sort of footage and that sort of a content available to me, wherein I can analyze each and every player in detail as to what are the problems that he is facing, which are the strong areas, which are his weak areas, and also maintain the confidence levels of the players, because in a roller coaster tournament like IPL, you also want to empower players to have various strategies, as also make sure that their confidence level remains consistent. The couple of failures should not deter their self-confidence, and that is how these are the little things I do for the players to go out and perform.
So do you go at the start of every season and tell a player, hey, listen, these are your strengths, these are your abilities, and this is your role? Or do you get here, watch them at practice, watch them in the nets, and then start identifying it and tell them, this is what you got to do?
Yes, a lot of it has to do, because see, there are two aspects to it. It's not only the skill part, because it's also a lot to do with the mindset of a player. So skill and talent, obviously, yes, but skill can be upgraded, and so can the mindset and the thought process be. So it is very important for us to challenge the players, to challenge their thought processes, because if somebody says that, okay, this is the only way I play, then people are going to find it out, and if you do not continue to evolve all the time, then you're definitely gonna run and hit a plateau, which in a competitive sport and a fast changing sport like cricket, and in an IPL format, you will be caught napping.
So I asked Mike this question, and I want to ask you as well, and you can be as honest as you want to be. How much of a batsman's performance is the coaching drills and the time in the nets versus what they go out there and do on the field by themselves? In a sense, how much of their success or failure can be rooted and credited back to you?
I don't think much, because a lot of the success and the failure of a particular player, the ownership is with the player. But the part is that if he has not prepared in the best possible manner, then obviously we are accountable for it. If he is not trained enough, if he is not, because see, cricket is, it is a skill. If you give up this skill, and if you are at the highest level, then your reflexes are going to slow down, and if you are not doing the repetitions which are required, maybe you have the chance to lose the rhythm that is required to perform. So if we have failed to prepare in the best possible manner, I feel that we are 100% accountable for it. But if the player has actually gone there and did all the things which are possible that he could have done, then we are rest assured that both him and the coaching staff or me in person have done all that we could, and then it's a matter of time when the results will follow.
ये है मेरा ड्राइवर्स लाइसेंस, माय मेट्रो कार्ड, और ये है मेरा फैन कार्ड.
you faced criticism in the past when the Indian team's been bowled out for low totals. Is that fair then in that case?
Yeah, it is fair because being at the highest level, you are expected to give results. Now, whether the entire result is attributable to you, I have my own reservations, because a player can have success and he deserves all the accolades for it. And if a player has got success, then because we also tend to reflect. Tend to glow in the reflected light, because if somebody is done well, then automatically he'll say, "Arey yaar, uski wajah se isne acha kiya." So itna bhi that sort of a thing is not actually directly attributable to us, but it is more of the player going out there. It is about his determination, focus, and what not he goes through to conquer or to get to a landmark or to perform to his potential. We value that, and it's more of a background job. We do not really want to come into the limelight.
For good or bad?
For good or bad.
Did you have a sort of impression of RCB before you got here? For good or bad, has it changed after you have actually been a part of the setup?
This has been my first experience with RCB, and the kind of systems that have been put in place are really, really good to see. And the top management is very, very supportive. They understand the sport, and that is critical, because if everybody knows what is expected of them, then it becomes so much easier that to operate, so that you are focusing your entire energies on the thing that is supposed to happen. And the thing that is supposed to happen is that the players have to go out and play well for the team to get the results, because if you have a botch up in the system itself, then the entire focus and energy goes somewhere else, and you do not actually get the team playing what they're supposed to do that.
Is there a mistake that you made in your cricket career, and if you had a chance to go and correct it, what would that mistake be?
Yeah, I think I didn't think big enough, because at that time I only thought that I should play for the country. I never thought to myself that okay, I have to be a 50 test matches or a 100 test matches player for the country. My only goal and dream was I have to play for the country. So when you go there and reach, okay, you've reached there, what next?
Yes, yeah.
So having to have bigger games, because bigger goals is critical. And if somebody wants to learn a lesson, I think it is important to think big, because only when you think big, your actions are directed in that direction.
In all the years that you played, what's your best cricket memory?
Oh, best cricket memory. Best cricket memory has always been, singing a national anthem when you're out there on the park, which every time, I mean, it's not only during the World Cups or during an India-Pakistan match or anything, but whenever you get the chance of wearing the national colors and standing there and singing the national anthem, I think it gives me goosebumps even if I think of it.
Do you remember the first time you got out there and this happened? Do you remember that game?
Yeah, it at that point it used to happen in World Cup events.
Okay.
Now it is happening more. Series to series basis as well.
Yeah.
That is a time, yes, but I remember the 2003 World Cup, and that is when it was played, and that was my first memory. It actually propels you, because here you are representing 1 billion people and wanting to do your best, and you live that day. You want to give everything that you've got, and when you come back, and if you are able to hit your head on the pillow and think that okay, I've given my best on that particular day, then no regrets. But yes, you aspire and you try and give your 100% every time you step onto the field of play.
ये है मेरा ड्राइवर्स लाइसेंस, माय मेट्रो कार्ड, और ये है मेरा फैन कार्ड.
What do you want your legacy to be, sir, after all these years?
I've never thought about it, but I think cricket has been my life for a very long time now. Literally 35 years that I've been associated with the sport, and the kind of opportunities that it has given me, the number of friends that I've made, and life experience that I've learned through the journey have been enormous. And that is where I feel that in any sense, I just think to myself that wherever I am, which is related to cricket, if I leave the place which I actually walked into maybe a year later or 2 years later, then I feel that okay, I have tried to do certain things for the betterment of that place, and that is how I would like to be remembered.
And I'm going to ask you one last question, and this is where we started from. How has the IPL changed your life?
It has it has changed massively, because I think my fast forwarding to the Indian cricket setup as in a coaching capacity happened purely because of IPL. Yes, I had done all the courses and I was doing the India A and the NCA stuff. But had it not been for the dream season of 2014, I would not have got the job with the Indian team. And I owe everything to the franchise, and I owe everything to that opportunity, especially which was created by IPL, which helped me do the job that I did for the Indian team eventually.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. So just listen to all the episodes of the RCB podcast on Spotify, Gaana, Amazon Prime Music, and Apple Podcasts.